dive into what is kind of going on with our office right now, I would like to just highlight the success of the recent election in 2020. And my office started prepping for the 2020 election as soon as I got there in 2019. And knowing, I mean, elections are a huge undertaking under normal circumstances. We knew headed in that Arizona would be under some sort of spotlight as we had clinched a spot as a battleground state. And we really worked to build partnership with all the county election officials. We started working to build partnership with tribal communities, with organizations that were doing voter engagement and registration work, knowing that all of that would be critical to helping to rebuild trust in our office, as well as, just increasing voter engagement. And so that was really important to us. And thank goodness we invested the time and resource in doing that, because it absolutely paid off, as we realized very early in 2020 that we would be conducting 3 elections in the middle of a global pandemic. And really that investment in partnership is how we were able to have 3 successful elections. And I am really confident in saying that no voter in Arizona had to choose between their health and safety and their fundamental right to vote. And we saw record turnout in all 3 elections, the presidential preference in March, the August primary, as well as the general election. And so really, I just wanted to kind of start there, because I think what we should be doing is really celebrating that high level of voter engagement. And it wasn't only voter engagement, it was just the level of interest in elections in general. We saw so many people come forward wanting to be poll workers, wanting to help the process, wanting to make sure that there were enough folks to make sure that people could participate. And in fact, we did a huge recruitment campaign for poll workers, and ended up, most of the counties had more interest than they were able to respond to, which I know was probably frustrating for some people that were trying to sign up to do that. But we're just so grateful for the outpouring of support and people's interest. And I really hope that that's something that is maintained, and that in future elections, the same level of interest for involvement is maintained. So coming off the heels of that, we obviously have had 3 months now of just turmoil related to the elections. And I just want to highlight a few of the things that we do to ensure transparency and fairness and accuracy in the process. And, all of these calls of widespread fraud and irregularities, and we need an audit, are just like unnecessary. And so we, before any election equipment is purchased in the state, it has to go through the rigorous certification process through the Federal Election Assistance Commission. And then our office also has an election equipment certification committee that certifies equipment before it's even utilized in the state, or be able to be purchased to be utilized in the state for state and federal elections. Then prior to every election, our office conducts a logic and accuracy test in every single county on the equipment that's being used for those elections. So the counties actually first do their own logic and accuracy test on all the equipment, and then we randomly select some of it and go back and do it. So we did that 3 times in 2020. And then the updated election procedures manual also required an additional post-election audit, or logic and accuracy test done by the counties after the election. So that would ensure that there was no tampering of the machines. And those tests, every county passed, and those documents would be available by public record. Whenever those tests are conducted, representatives from each political party is invited, as well as media. And so it's a very open process. Additionally, we, at every polling place across the state, there's required to be a balance of political parties. So if you've ever signed up to be a poll worker, it asks you your political party. And that's why. It's to ensure that no polling place is staffed by all Democrats or all Republicans. And that really helps to ensure fairness. Additionally, credentialed observers are allowed at every polling place. So one observer credentialed by each political party. is allowed at every polling place. And so folks who have said since the election that they weren't allowed, that is just absolutely baseless. And then at the tabulation centers, number one, there is a video from the entire time that ballots are present in the room that anyone could log onto from the internet at any county election department's website, as well as a central hub on our website. And again, credentialed observers are allowed in the tabulation centers, credentialed observers from each party. So obviously those numbers are limited because too many people in there would be distracting, and especially now because of COVID. But there were definitely 100% observers allowed in there. So again, the political party saying that they weren't allowed in there is just not true. And then finally, every county does a post-election hand count audit, which by statute is 2% of the precincts. Or in some cases, like here in Maricopa County, we use vote centers, and so it's 2% of the vote centers, which the statute specifies precincts. Vote centers do not sort ballots by precinct, and so it'd be very cumbersome to have to do a precinct count from vote centers. And the election procedures manual has allowed the vote center hand count audit since 2012. And so that's not a new thing that we instituted. And you might have heard some legislators saying that we tried to create new election law by allowing that in the procedures manual, but that was not new to us. It's been there, it's been in place, and should be instituted in statute in order to reduce any confusion around that. And that is also, again, political party participation, and actually currently in statute. The hand count audit happens if both parties agree to it. But if, say, the Republicans didn't want it, then it wouldn't happen. And so I think we should also institute in statute that the hand count audit happens no matter what. So that's where we are today. We're still dealing with the Senate subpoena of Maricopa County and lawsuits around that in terms of what the Senate thinks the Maricopa County thinks they can and can't turn over, including every single ballot file, every piece of equipment. And they just completed 2 deep dive audits on the equipment with Election Assistance Commission certified auditors. There are actually only 2 firms in the country that do this, and Maricopa County hired both of them. And so that second audit completed today, but there's still legal dispute over what else they will turn over in response to the Senate subpoena. So that's where we are today with the 2020 election. And I will tell you with 100% confidence, I am absolutely sure of the election we conducted, that it was according to laws and procedures that are in place, and 100% confident in the votes that we certified on November 30th. And so everything else out there is really just part of these baseless conspiracy theories meant to undermine the election results. So, and again, I just want to highlight, we had record voter turnout for all 3 elections, not only in the face of a global pandemic, but also in the face of just widespread misinformation. I'm very proud of the work that we did to ensure that Arizona voters could vote, and that we saw the levels of participation that we did. So moving forward in 2021, obviously we are battling a lot of terrible election bills at the legislature that are precedented on all the conspiracy theories that were out there. And many of them are not new ideas. Today, Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita's bill to purge people off the PEVL failed in the Senate. Which is a good thing, but that bill has been around. This is not the first time she's introduced that. And so for these legislators that say that, oh, there's all these questions about the election and voters are concerned and we just need to assure them, well, that's just garbage, because they've put these kind of bills forward before. So we put together an election package that really focuses on how do we streamline election administration, how do we increase access to the ballot, and also increase election security. And I knew going in that our bill would be dead on arrival, but we wanted to put it out there to have the conversation about, these are the real issues we should be talking about in elections, not all this other stuff over here that was manufactured. The deadline for bills in their chamber of origin to get out of committees is this week. And so anything that is still in committee is dead, which is good. Like Shauna Bullock's bill to allow the legislature to overturn the will of the voters in the presidential election didn't even get assigned to a committee, so it's not getting out of the House. But I do think some of these more extreme bills are intended as a distraction, so that we won't pay attention to some of the less offensive bills that might get through, even though they're still offensive. And then just a quick touch on redistricting. My office does not oversee redistricting. Our role is convening the 4 partisan members for the first time that they meet to potentially elect the chair. So we did that. And now they have elected the chair, and they are in the process of hiring their staff and getting their stuff together. But in the meantime, while they're doing that, it's kind of hosted by the Arizona Department of Administration. So if you're looking for information on their meeting schedule and things like that, go over to the Department of Administration. That's where you'll find it. And they are probably going to be a little bit delayed. If you saw recently, the census data isn't going to be available now until September. That is a huge difference. It was supposed to be April, and that was already a delay, so now it's September. And so we're talking with folks at the legislature about what that means in terms of filing deadlines. Right now, the filing period is a month from March to April, and that might have to be adjusted a little bit because we cannot accept filings from the old districts, and there has to be new districts in place in order to run in for the next election. So we're trying to figure out what the delay is going to mean for filing deadlines. And that's about it.